Welcome to the General Committee meeting on Tuesday, 11th of June 2024, Cowra Council. In accordance with the Local Government Act 1993, Cowra Council is recording General Committee and Council meetings. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and will be uploaded on Wednesday morning. By speaking at these meetings, you agree to being recorded. Please ensure that when you speak at this meeting that you ensure you are respectful to others and use appropriate language at all times. Cowra Council accepts no liability for any defamatory or offensive remarks or gestures made during the course of this meeting. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we gather, the Wiradjuri people, and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. We have no apologies at this stage, although Councillor Watt... We're expecting Councillor Watt. An apology from Larissa. Thank you very much, Councillor Wright. Do we move? No. Just note that. If any council and staff, please indicate in relation to any interest you need to declare what report item you are declaring an interest in, whether it's interest pecuniary and what is the nature of the interest. Does anyone have any conflicts of interest they'd wish to declare? Okay, we have no public presentations. We have no public forum. The confirmation of minutes of General Committee meeting held on 13th of May 2024. Can somebody move or have something else they want to? Councillor Smith and Councillor West. Oh, sorry, I was over that side. All in favour? Against? Carried. Now we have the Director of Corporate Services report, the Local Government Remuneration Tribunal report on mayoral and councillor fees. So does somebody want to move that? Councillor Smith. Second, Councillor West. Councillor Smith.
Thank you. I note that the state government, I think, has taken some account of representations made by councils in the past as to inequities of funding of councillor and mayoral positions vis-a-vis smaller rural councils, city councils, etc., because if I am correct, council has been moved from being a rural council into a rural large council as of this year, and that means that we have a population of over 10,000 people. It also means a reasonable increase in fees for councillors and mayors, which I believe are fully justified. I've looked at a comparison with, for example, some of the smaller councils in the city, where councillors, I think in the smallest city councils, the top of the range there is in the 22,000s, which is 5,000 more than is mooted for this council. We, of course, look after a lot more in terms of road length and road diversity and all the associated bridges, culverts, etc. than most councils. We also look after, and I think do it very well, sewerage, water, that sort of thing that those city councils by and large don't have to do. So I believe that the amount of work that councillors do, which is considerable and considerably more than most people realise, is worth at least the maximum that is offered for 24-25, and I move that that's what we adopt.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor West.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and supporting my colleague and agreeing with her comments. I think it's been standard practice in this council that, and there are two issues probably we're dealing with. One is that we actually just, as a matter of course, adopt the maximum fee for mayors and councillors, and that's something that we've been doing in this council for many years. And it takes away any sort of argument or conversations around whether we're worth it or not. We're probably not worth it in the eyes of some people, but be that as it may, I think it's the appropriate rationale to have in terms of this chamber and how we go about doing business. I guess the other question, of course, comes up as to whether the fees actually reflect in any way the time and the hours and the work that is required from councillors and mayors in local government, particularly in rural regional areas. And I think so there's two issues, and on that one, I think that we all would agree that we come in with our eyes open. No one's seeking to become a millionaire out of being a councillor representing our community, but it does take a lot of time, a lot of energy, and I think that there is a need for some consideration within the fees and charges for elected people. I would encourage people in years to come to be talking to the tribunal and taking along to the tribunal the hours that you work, your workload. Having had the opportunity to having a couple of conversations with the chair, Viv May, and they're working within their framework. They don't have the capacity just to have an open slate for us. They've got their own framework they've got to work within. It's interesting to understand that framework. But if you have a chance to talk to Viv May or to the other members of the panel, and just explain the hours that you do put in and what's required and what the community expectation is of a councillor in a rural and regional area. And I think failure to do that means, in some respects, that the bottom line to me with this conversation will be that we will fail to attract people in local government who are professional people or people who are capable of earning a lot more money and expected to take a significant pay cut in their daily income capacity. That's, I think, something that state government needs to be aware of in terms of attracting a good, broad cross-section of the community. You will be disadvantaged, that's understood, but how far you're disadvantaged and what disadvantage some people will be expected to undertake, I think, is something that needs to be considered when we're trying to attract what I would call a very broad church of representatives for our community from all walks of life and all levels of our community. So I think that's the conversation we need to be having. So I'd encourage you, if you get a chance, keep some sort of documentation of your hours and just talk to, when you get a chance. Viv May's always at the conferences. We'll talk to Viv at the conference quietly and explain what you're seeing, what you're doing. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor West. Any further comments? Councillor White?
I support that they have increased it, but I still don't appreciate how they treat the smaller rural councils in New South Wales. Those people, they're the lifeblood for their community, and they're struggling to get $10,000 a year, where they might get travelling, going to meetings, and that with the time might maintain the motor car, but it doesn't reflect the time they spend in getting to meetings. And a little bit like us, if we go to a regional meeting, it's generally us going to Orange or somewhere, or Dubbo, even to Sydney, and those people have got further to go to get to those regional meetings. And it's really a form of discrimination against postcodes. And I've been banging on about this for 16 years. But I don't know what we do, because they're the people they want to get people to run for councils out there. In a community like ours, we'll have people that will nominate without too much encouragement. But in the more remoter areas, and I think the mayor of Lachlanshire, he's got 2 hours to get to the council chambers to conduct his business. And I noticed in the reading of it, they made a comment that they don't, they're trying to put a levy to pay us a figure where none of us are disadvantaged for the time we put in or the work we do. You can spend a whole week doing council work if you wanted to, if you wanted to read all the reports and do everything, follow it all up. But you've got to make a commitment somewhere where how far you go into it to get the results you need for your own community. And the other two levels of government, they're supplied secretaries and office staff, and we don't get that. But I think my part for putting the increase in, but I'd like them to consider the smaller rural councils in future to try and bring those levels up, or if that's too difficult, to take our level back. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Any further comment? Right of reply? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Now, number 3.2, investments and financial report on page 49. Have a mover, Councillor Smith and Councillor Delbo. Councillor Smith?
Yes, just our monthly report as per usual. I know rates are still coming in almost identical. It's interesting how they come in as almost exactly the same rate every year. Still got a bit outstanding with only a month to go. But the other thing that I'd like to note is that the loan that was 3.87 million back in 2014 will be paid off this month. So that's a lovely place to be. Just a note. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Delbo?
Thank you. Through the chair, I'll just add to Councillor Smith's comments in regards to the investments. We have 9 term deposits coming to an end this month to the value of $5 million that will be reapplied going forward, and hopefully at a higher interest rate than when we first took it out. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Councillor Delbo. Any further comment? Councillor Kiss?
Just briefly, adding to what Deputy Mayor Smith actually said, that was one thing I noted too, but it was a poignant reminder of the responsibility that we have to our future generations as well. You know, we can make decisions now, such as was made back in 2014, and we need to be mindful that the future councils can continue to be repaying so that they are financially sound as well. So I think that's what I took a moment to reflect back on and think this is what we need to consider when we take out loans that we think we can do now, but we need to make sure the impact isn't too drastic on future councils.
Thank you, Councillor Kiss. Any further comment? Right of reply? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Now we're up to page, the Cowra Housing Director of Environmental Services, and General Manager's taking any comments to be passed on. Page 58. Councillor Smith, Councillor Wright. Thank you. Councillor Smith.
Thank you. This is a really pleasing development, and I'm glad that we're writing to the Department of Planning, Housing and Infrastructure, because that's quite an important contribution to the future well-being of people in this shire. I'm also pleased that we've been able to award the contract for carrying this project forward to a local firm. That's terrific. I note that they've given us a lot already, including a lot of what they're planning to do and timelines, which I won't go into, but anyone who is interested is very welcome to read it on Council's website in these papers. There are just a couple of things that I would like personally to ensure are part of the mix going forward in the consultation process, and that is consultation with organisations that are that work in the affordable social housing area, and I know that we have some of those in Cowra, and also those that work in the domestic violence area. It's unfortunately a very topical issue at the moment, and no less so in Cowra than anywhere else. And I'd like to see all those sorts of things as part of the inquiry that is going to be informing this strategy project. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright.
Thank you. I'm glad we got some funding to this. It's a pretty difficult area to be in, to have a positive, not so much a positive plan, but a plan that will be fulfilled sooner than later. In saying that, we'll have some expansion each year in the housing lot, but unless something comes to town, another business opens up or an existing business expands, or with the completion of the new hospital, we can offer more services. I note today there's 247 million been allocated by the state government to for an employment program to get more staff for the hospitals that are just being completed or refurbished, and the new ones. And Cowra has been on that list to get allocation of new staff to the area. But we're hampered in. All we can do is work out how many lots there are available in Cowra, which we do with each LEP, and then you put that into the system and they say, well, you don't need any more housing areas opened up because you've got enough housing lots to infill. But a lot of those housing lots, unless the people want to build on them that own them, or if they want to sell them so people can build on them, they don't get built on. And we've seen in West Cowra where we went to a larger block because we didn't have sewerage there. There's been developers there now cutting those blocks up into smaller lots on the proviso they hook up into the sewerage when it goes through and put in a very good septic system until that happens. And so our lots that are being created out of existing lots have increased without any more effort. Well, the effort by council is that we've approved those developments. We have one very large development block to the north of Cowra that is yet to have anything done to it, and it was going to be opened up some 10 years ago. But until that person finds the need for it, or he can justify doing it, it won't happen. So do we look for another land, open up another area of land, gazette land for that future growth that might be perceived? Becomes very difficult. We could allocate areas that mightn't be used, because as with our industrial land, we've thought we opened up an industrial zone down in the Glen Logan Road, but another developer decided he wanted to go out the Binney Creek Road, so it's fragmented our planning a little bit. But we do need a plan, and we do need a plan that caters for some expansion, and so people can see that we are making provision for the future. And often the expansion, as I said, is from existing businesses, but they're not just employing tradesmen or unskilled workers, they're employing more highly qualified people that require a different style of housing development. So I'll look forward to see what comes out of this study. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Councillor Keith.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is a much-awaited opportunity. Last September, I travelled to Dubbo, just as a private citizen, to participate in the community consultation for the state housing strategy. So it's really interesting to see how this is rolling out now. We're in the best position to understand our own housing needs, and it's my hope that our locals will take advantage of the local community consultations once they come out. Tell us what they need, tell us what they want to see is they need now, and what they're hoping the future will also hold for Cowra too. It's their opportunity to have their say, and I really hope they make the most of it.
Thanks, Councillor Keith. Any further comment? Councillor Dilbert. Downey.
Downing.
Sorry.
That's okay. I would just like to say congratulations to New South Wales Government. They've realised that we need housing. Both levels of government have underfunded that for quite some time, so it's nice to see that they've given us some money to do that. in our town, and congratulations to the staff for applying for it and getting it. It's a great plan. I too had the community survey in mind, and just wanted to mention that the community can be involved and they need to seek out and tell us exactly what they want. I also noticed that there's a councillor information session, and I was wondering, is that going to be carried over to the new councillors as well, seeing we're in that break year?
I can answer that, and and time me, because I had a conversation with Councillor Watt, who's not here at the moment, and Councillor Watt asked that question, and if you look at the timeline on page 102, it does have a workshop in November with the new council. It does also have an optional workshop in June with current council, so that's included in that proposed timeline. Councillor Watt, who can speak to this, I'm sure, at the council meeting, but it was going to suggest adding to, I think, recommendation number 1 and endorse the proposed time frame. I'll just put that on the table for councillors to consider.
So do you want to include that in this number 1 on the Councillor Smith?
I'm happy to do that if the
Councillor
seconder is
Wright, would
happy.
you like to include that? And endorse, what we want to say is, and that council notes the report and endorse the time frame on the commencement and progress of the Cowra housing strategy.
Can I ask a question, Madam Mayor?
Yes.
We're endorsing a timeline which I find where
In the report on page
Page.
102. I mean, it's, I mean, you know, you don't have to adopt that if you don't want to. Just it's the strategy timeline, but you don't need to put it in if you don't want to. 102.
Yeah, I read that. I would like. I'll need time to think about that, look at that, because I was going to ask questions about the timeline. I did look at that quickly. This is not something I'm overly waxing lyrical about. It's a state government plan, and it's good to have these plans, and it is certainly an opportunity, and a welcome opportunity. But this is a fair way down the track, and we need to make sure our community understand that. And the state government, and to some extent the federal government, have clearly indicated that their biggest push for housing is going to be in the metropolitan areas. There's no doubt about that at all. There's a good friend, Wollongong Council says they get the crumbs. Wollongong get the crumbs. We don't. We get the crumbs of the crumbs. So I'm concerned that there won't be a lot of come out of this. But by the same token, we need to do it, and we need to do it with a great deal of passion, and then be able to have a document we can actually deliver and chase what we need to chase. On behalf of our community and the well-being of our region. But I think there's sort of questions involved in where this might land and the timeline. Given that there is a local government election, I think there's an opportunity to have this current council to have some conversations while this council is still in play. Not necessarily driving the agenda or delivering too much, but at least have some commentary around it, because it will be the new council that will have to pick up the baton and run with it and deliver it. So I think whatever bit of guidance we can give may be beneficial in the initial term and the formative period. But we need to recognise this is a long haul and will take a while, and something the new council can get their teeth into, along with senior staff.
Thanks, Councillor West. Any further comment?
Just a question. There's so we're in caretaker mode from now on to September. We can't make decisions.
No.
Well, you look at that. Well, on this S102 thing here, from now in June until September, we're in council caretaker mode. 15 weeks, eh? Just the grey area. That's good.
Okay, you're fine with that. Councillor Delbo.
Through the chair, I'd like to say thank you to council staff for applying for the application to receive funding and to be taking this initiative forward. Housing in our regions were already at strain in some places before the pandemic occurred, but when we all went through the pandemic, it certainly put extra pressure on our regional areas, with the influx of people deciding to leave metropolitan areas and to come out this way. We also have changes in our structures within our homes and how many people are living at home. A local housing strategy provides councils and communities the opportunity to develop a strategy that influences how and where they will grow to support a growing population, an ageing community, and a change in household structure. And the thing that attracted me the most about this plan is that there is a great deal of thought going in with the consultation with our community and the level of consultation that they propose to go forward with this plan. I noted and support Councillor Judy Smith's request about speaking out to social housing and disability networks. I also had that in my notes. As a stakeholder, I would also like to add the progress associations of the villages onto that list, please. I think this is an excellent way to go forward to look at the situation that we have here at Cowra, and to plan forward. Where that goes and what it does at other levels of government, we will have to wait and see. Thank you.
Okay, I'd just like to say that thank the government and our staff for doing this. I think it's a great initiative, and also to remind everyone that on page 60 it says, in the report, it says, if relevant stakeholders have been omitted from this list, the attachment, councillors are asked to notify environmental services. So if anyone can think of anyone else who would like to be, you think should be involved, then email environmental services for them to be added to the list. It's also, I think this is important to give us some valuable data and information, so we can continue applying for grants for infrastructure and maybe water and sewerage problems that we have. So if anyone else would like to comment, you can.
Just in relation excuse me, to that, Madam Mayor, you might email Larissa and copy me, and if I've taken down the notes of those mentioned tonight, but any over the coming few days, you might just email Larissa to copy me, and I'll make sure it gets to the staff this week.
Can I add Moxie to the list, please? Thank you.
Okay, great.
Just a question: was there tenders called for this job? I don't remember seeing voting on applying of giving the job to such and such.
Not tenders. There were quotations called for it. Yes, I know at least a couple responded. Only 2 or 3, I think, responded.
Expressions of interest, was it? Yeah, probably. So if anyone has any further comment, write a reply, Councillor Smith.
Briefly, thanks to all councillors for their thoughtful comments. I'd just like to make one comment following on from Councillor Delbo's talking about the progress associations in the villages, because Councillor Downing mentioned Cowra Township, and it certainly is front and centre of what's going to be investigated, but there is mention of the 8 villages as well, and I think it's important to include that and acknowledge it publicly.
Thank you, Councillor Smith, coming from a village. So I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Now we move on to 115.
Through the chair, can I just say Erin has placed an apology, if that's okay? Thank you. She's unwell.
Great. Okay, so we'll accept that. Page 115. I was just going to say, we'll have a motion to accept Councillor Watt as an apology. She's ill. So Councillor Delbo, Councillor West, thank you. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. 115, we have the DA for Collis Drive. So Councillor Paul Smith, Councillor Judy Smith, Councillor Smith.
Yes, this has come before council because the original DA for these 3 sheds was put to council, so therefore any amendment has to also come to council. It is a change in the site plan. The internals of the one of the sheds has now got a mezzanine, and one of the other sheds started off as one big shed. Now it'll be 3 separate tenants. So I take it that that's the difference between now and that. But it's fully compliant. Well, I think they always word it largely complies. So I think it's only a formality.
Councillor Smith.
Keeping it in the family. Yes, there are a considerable number of changes, most of which are internal and some of which are to the parking layout. But in our terms, I think substantially the development remains the same and should be supported on that basis. There's just one note I'd like to make on page 127. Under signage, it talks about no changes to the proposed signage, which to my mind is not strictly true. There's certainly no additional signage, but there's some wraparound signage that is no longer going to be there. So it'll be less flagrant and in the public eye. But to my mind, strictly speaking, that's no change in signage. But I think they should all be supported, all these changes.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Right of reply?
I was going to ask a question.
Oh, sorry, Councillor West.
I just, in the second part of it mentions light industry, modification to a light industry in College Drive. I thought the scale of industry it's just industry now. There's no such thing as light, medium and heavy industry. That's been changed. That's how come it changed in April.
Take that on notice.
Just take that on notice. I'm not being pedantic. It won't change the outcome, but
They probably haven't changed the template.
from what I can gather, they
Right.
can do anything they like, thanks to civil cast.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Councillor West?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, I'll firstly support this and support the comments that have been made, and just on the way through, take a bit of an opportunity to just make a more broad comment. As you go across the College Drive and up the Young Road, it's absolutely amazing the work that's going on out there, the development, the growth. It's a credit to, I guess, the late George College who probably established that, and the businesses now who are starting to operate out there. It's really exciting to see that development, and when you add that to what's happening down around Pridham Street and Angar Street and those other areas, that there's a lot of things happening in Cowra that maybe not the CBD, unfortunately, maybe not retail, unfortunately, but there's a lot of industry and business and growth and development happening in the Cowra Shire, which unfortunately doesn't get recognised the way it should do. So people like Jim Morgan and other developers, good luck and congratulations, and they're helping them make sure things continue to move forward and grow in this shire and this region as I have every confidence will continue to do so.
Thank you, Councillor West. Right of reply. Oh no, Councillor Wright again.
Yeah, no, I support the amendment, but I'd just like to make a comment in addition that we just spoke about a housing study for Cowra, and all the good plans you can have, it's getting someone to enact them after we put them out there. We can't tell people where they want to build or anything. And this college development, it's a bit like, it sat there for a while. It was all done properly and everything, and it took a while to go. There was Cowra Toyota and a few other things went there first. But once it started, it grew, and you couldn't plan for the growth to happen all at once so quick, I don't think. And I think it's happened with the North Cowra development that the Watt family started up there. It took a while for it to happen, but then it all of a sudden happened. And you can have a housing strategy or industry strategy and all the goodwill and your plan. You just cannot say, well, we're going to build 10 houses this year and every year after. It mightn't happen for 5-6 years, but then you might get 40 houses all at once. And this is what's happened over there. But I commend the developers that are doing anything in Cowra. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Right of reply, Councillor Smith.
Not required, thank you.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour, put your hand up. Those against, do the same. Thank you. Unanimous. Thank you very much, everybody. And any late reports? Any notices of motion? Urgent business?
Could I just speak for a couple of minutes, I think, on
No confidential matters. I'm going to declare the meeting closed. Thank you. At 5:35.